One of the most closely guarded secrets of the Cold War was America's role in supporting Afghan warlords known as the Mujahideen. The official story is that America backed these fundamentalists in response to the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in December 1979. But that's not true. It was 6 months before the Soviet invasion, in July of that year, that President Jimmy Carter authorized $500 million to help set up the Mujahideen, a terrorist organization. The American people were completely unaware that their government, together with the British Secret Service, MI6, had begun training and funding Islamic extremists, including Osama bin Laden. Out of this came the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and September the 11th. Soon after the Taliban came to power in 1996, the administration of Bill Clinton backed a secret plan for a pipeline through Afghanistan from Central Asia, which has vast reserves of oil and gas. The Taliban were offered a generous cut in the deal and secretly invited to Washington and Texas. They were treated royally, taken shopping and flown to tourist attractions like the NASA Space Center and Mount Rushmore. Their tour was so secret that no television news covered it. Most Americans knew nothing. By the time George W. Bush came to power, the link between Al-Qaeda and the Taliban was an embarrassment, and September the 11th gave Bush an opportunity to get rid of them. Today, Afghanistan is run by a regime installed by the Americans, and the pipeline deal is going ahead. September the 11th also presented an opportunity to an influential group who, even by Republican Party standards, were extreme. Ray McGovern is a former senior officer of the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, and a personal friend of George Bush Sr., the president's father.
The same people who are running U.S. policy now are people that the president's father kept at arm's length. They were referred to in the circles in which I moved when I was briefing at the top intelligence and policy levels. They were referred to as the crazies.
The crazies also include Donald Rumsfeld, seen here in Baghdad in 1986, warmly greeting Saddam Hussein, who was then being armed to the teeth by America and Britain.
How many countries has the U.S. attacked in the last 15 years?
Well, since World War II, there have been 72 interventions by the United States.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
That's ludicrous.
Well, it's not ludicrous, it's true.
To be fair, we had helped to create the problem we're now fighting. How? Because when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, we had this brilliant idea that we were going to come to Pakistan and create a force of mujahideen, equip them with Stinger missiles and everything else to go after the Soviets inside Afghanistan. And we were successful. The Soviets left Afghanistan, and then we said, great, goodbye, leaving these trained people who were fanatical in Afghanistan and Pakistan, leaving them well armed, creating a mess, frankly, that at the time we didn't really recognize. We were just so happy to see the Soviet Union fall, and we thought, okay, fine, we're okay now. Everything's going to be so much better. Now you look back, the people we're fighting today, we were supporting in the fight against the Soviets.
Who were the winners?
So let's talk defense contractors, shareholders, the military-industrial complex. So we've got some charts for you to look at here. So first we're going to take a look at Boeing. We have Boeing, who had a total return of 974%. Now what they did, Scotty, is this dividend channel drip calculator. They said if you invested 10 grand in 2001, how much would it be today? There you go with Boeing, $107,000. Also, as we keep looking at these, I want you to not really focus on the board member names, but look at their titles. Former vice chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Let's go to the next one. We've got Raytheon. Total return, 331%. Your stock would be worth more than $43,000. A retired Air Force general, retired Navy admiral, former Deputy Secretary of Defense. We got Lockheed Martin. 1,235%. How is that even possible? 133,000 your stock would be worth today. A retired Air Force general, retired Marine Corps general. Then you got General Dynamics. You got 625%. Your stock would be worth 72,000. And you have a former Deputy Secretary of Defense and a retired Navy Admiral. You even have James Mattis there, who we know, former Secretary of Defense and a former Marine Corps general. And lastly, we have Northrop Grumman, 1,196% more. $129,000 your stock would be, and you have a retired Navy Admiral and a retired Air Force General. Now, Scotty, it's important to note that all of those companies, except for Boeing, the vast majority of their revenue is given by the U.S. government. So here we're not only helping fund a lot of these wars, they're banking on them too. So it's one of these things where they now have this Brown University cost of war project where they're actually totaling the numbers to see how much we've actually spent. We have over 800 billion in direct warfight costs, 296 billion to care for our American veterans. Now, that number they show, that includes lifetime care and disability, but as far as how much each soldier is making, still have yet to determine. But we do have 85 billion to train the Afghan army and $750 million given by the U.S. taxpayer to pay for the Afghan soldier's salary. So if that's not trying to bribe someone to fight, I don't know what is. And then they have them turn around and kind of flee and as quickly as they did. But with $2.26 trillion total of what this war is what this war has cost us, that would be like paying $300 million per day for 20 years, Scotty.
That is absolutely incredible. And I think in a time right now, Farron, where everybody's going, what were we there for? They say terrorism, that's very generic. No specifics are being given of what we actually accomplished in the area. I think right there is probably the most accurate numbers that were accomplished over the last 20 years and why I think you saw this continued fighting happen within it. But wars are expensive, Farron. Wars are expensive. What do we know about those in the past?
Well, we have England. England just paid off their World War I debt, believe it or not, in the 19-teens. They finally paid off their World War I debt of, at the time it was 21 billion. December 31st, 2006, okay? Then we had Germany, who had to pay World War I reparations. Again, this is in the 19-teens. Today it would be around $269 billion. It took them 92 years to pay it off, Scotty. They finally did it October 3rd, 2010. But again, it's going to be on, with Germany, they got a little bit of help from the United States after World War II and letting them sell their debt to us to give off to England and France. But it's one of these things, Scotty, where the American taxpayers are going to be paying this for a long time.
But the key is it's not like we're not already in debt. When you look at the several trillion dollars we had going into this, 20 years ago we were in debt. Why in the world would we even continue to spend this money? And once again, I think we're finding out the real reason is because you have this evolving door at the Pentagon. And I am so tired of people not waking up and realizing why we sometimes get into some of these different theaters and these different arrangements that have nothing to do with American security. It's because of that reason right there, because somebody somewhere is making a few dollars. Farron, like always, thank you for bringing some light to this.